Last week, I dove into imposter syndrome, what it is, and why we as creatives tend to feel that way, and what I did to overcome it myself. Head on over and give that one a listen. Now, in this week's episode, I'll be interviewing Sondra from Midwest Charm. She has an amazing storefront where she creates these beautiful vignettes. And today, we are going to be diving into how she has created a new income stream for her small business by using a new platform called Whatnot. Are you wanting to add an extra stream of income to your business? Well, then this is an episode that you guys are going to want to take a listen to.
Welcome to the Rescued and Upcycled podcast with weekly inspiration, tips on trying new techniques, and overall real talk about owning your own DIY business. Now here's your host, Sonnet Ullenbrook.
Welcome back to Rescued and Upcycled. I'm your host, Sonnet Ullenbrook. I want to thank you guys all for joining me on my podcast. Now, this is episode 21. Kind of crazy. I'm having so much fun interviewing and talking all things business. Now, I'm hoping I've been inspiring you guys all along by bringing on different guests. So, in today's episode, you guys, I am going to be interviewing Sondra from Midwest Charm. She is located in Minnesota, so a fellow Midwesterner. I was so excited to interview her and discuss a new platform for resellers. So, today we are going to be diving into how she's created a new income stream for her small business by using Whatnot. So, if you guys haven't heard about Whatnot, you're going to get the scoop today. I did meet Sondra after she joined my membership group. I think she's been in the membership group for almost a year now. And she has so much knowledge that she's been bringing to the group. So I was so excited when she agreed to talk to my membership group about Whatnot. I thought it was perfect to have her talk about it with you guys today. So let's give a big welcome to Sondra. Let me bring her on. Hello, Sondra. Thank you so much for joining today. So for my viewers and listeners who haven't had the opportunity to have found you yet, tell us just a little bit about yourself.
I have a small shop in East Central Minnesota, so we're right on the border of Wisconsin and Minnesota, small town. And we have, all the upcycled, repurposed, vintage home decor and DIY stuff. And we've been doing this here at the store for 3 years, but doing the flipping in general for almost 10 years now.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
awesome. So how long have you had the storefront?
3. We're going into year 3.
Year 3. So that's a good sign. They always say,
Yeah.
3, if you can survive the first 3 years, you're doing good. So
Yes.
awesome. And I know, I first met you when you joined my membership, and I just have to find out, like, whatever, I guess, what made you decide to join the membership group?
I, at the time, was looking for some camaraderie, just people I could bounce things off of. There's another local business owner, and we're always going, well, where's the best place to get this? Or have you tried this? Or have you tried this? And it's just the two of us. So we were like, there's got to be something more out there. And then I'm like, all these creators have these membership groups. There's got to be one where I feel at home.
Yeah.
And I have followed you from pretty much day one. So I was like, you know
Aw.
what? We're going to give that one a go. You're a
Awesome.
Midwesterner, so things are, tend to flow a little bit the same as they would for me, compared to like the East Coast or West Coast. So I wanted to
Right.
kind of stay
Yeah.
in my general home area. So
Awesome. Yes. And you've been like an amazing fit. Like you just slid right in, you joined in, and I was right from the start. I'm like,
I love it. I
yeah.
love it. It seriously, it's one of those things everybody celebrates everybody, and there's no negative, and there's no, people give you feedback, honest feedback, and not just
Mhm.
like blowing smoke. Oh, your stuff's fabulous. Then
Right.
they're honest and they're open and they're loving and kind, and it's been wonderful.
Oh, good. Well, I'm so glad that you decided to join the group, and you've been a huge asset to the membership. So I love how Sondra came and did a whole tutorial on how she creates her beautiful vignettes within her store, and that was so informational. And then she started dabbling in whatnot, and then she came to the group and did a whole presentation on that. And she inspired, I would say, a big majority of the group to at least try it. And everyone that's tried it, I think that they've actually are hooked, because creating an income stream is so important for, an additional income stream for your business is very
Yes.
important. So, um, before we dive into that though, I just want to find out a little bit more about like you and your business. And, did you always know that you wanted to have a small business?
Yeah, that's what I wanted in high school. If you'd asked me what I wanted to do, I wanted to own my own business, and we've
Awesome.
owned several throughout the years, when we were in
Okay.
Arizona and here, and so it was something I've always wanted to do. I've always had, what do you call it, a side gig? I've
Yeah.
always done something. And back in the day, I made lamp work beads, so I made glass beads. I've done a little bit of
Okay.
everything, always on the creative edge, um, my whole life. So
Awesome. Well,
yeah.
good. So you've had the storefront for 3 years. You said that you started furniture flipping before that. And did you always have Midwestern Charm as your business name, or did that kind of
No,
change
we
too?
were we were in Arizona,
Oh,
for so we've only been back in Minnesota for 4 years, little
okay.
over 4 years. We'll be going into year five. So when we were in Arizona, I just used my initials, so it was SMG Designs, and I used that back when I was doing lampwork beads, and pretty much whatever I've done, I've used that for my name. And when we moved up here, I'm like, I don't want to use my initials. I just didn't want to. I wanted something where people knew maybe what, not necessarily what I did, but it gave it more character.
Okay.
So yeah, and I don't even remember how I came up with it, but I was just sitting there one day and I'm like, oh, that's what I'm gonna do. And
Okay.
that's,
I love
yeah.
it. It is such a perfect fit for you. So, it's a very good name. So what really drove you to decide, like, one day, like, I'm gonna open up a storefront? Going from, just flipping furniture on the side to like, bam, I'm gonna rent the or lease this building and I'm gonna do it.
Yeah. So in Arizona, that was our main source of income right before we had moved. It was like a family thing. My husband was my picker. He'd go
Okay.
find the stuff, pick it up, bring it back. I'd flip it. He'd deliver it. It was like a family thing down there, but we did it out of our garage. And that's how it started when we moved back home. We started pretty much the same way. And I had been in a couple of stores, but I have a son with special needs. So it's was kind of when he would be going through bad spurts, I would have a hard time keeping up with it. It wasn't on my own pace. I wasn't able to, the one place wanted X number of new pieces per month. And I'm talking furniture, not
Okay.
smalls.
Right.
Um, and it was too much. And then the other store I was in, they opened, it was brand new, and I was in a really, really horrible car accident.
Okay.
And I lost the use of my left arm for about 3 years. And it was too much. I couldn't drive. I couldn't drive for almost that whole time. So I couldn't drive back and forth. And when we moved where we are now, it was a 45-minute drive. So you're
Okay.
talking a 45-minute drive down. You'd have to load it in. You'd have to enter everything into the computer, and then a 45-minute drive back. And when you're relying on other people to transport you, they don't really,
Right.
it's a lot to ask. So, um, I pulled out of there and we just started doing markets where we could, do these big shows. We would do like the Duluth junk hunt and some of these bigger shows. And it just was a lot when you're hauling around that furniture and moving it in and out. And by, day 4, you're like not able to move.
I know.
You just want to go home and sleep. And then you're like, I have to load up and drive an hour home. And everyone would ask, well, where's your shop? Where's your shop? And I'm like, my garage. It's in my garage.
Right.
And my husband's like, well, why? Why can't we? And so we did. We started looking, and the building we're in now is an old building. And we came in and checked it out. and then it fell through. And I'm like, well, it wasn't meant to be, but we're
Right.
a small town and there's not a lot of rental for businesses. So we're like, what are we going to do? And at this point, I had my heart set on it. I'm like, I want a storefront. And we wanted this place because the front windows are so amazing.
They
They're
are.
big and they're beautiful, and I'm obsessed with them. And all of a sudden, I get a call one day saying, "Did you still want that place because it fell through?" And I was like, "Oh."
Oh,
So here we are. And the our landlord is right next door. She's a flower shop, and she took over the very same weekend of that business that we moved in here and had our grand opening.
oh,
So we've kind
wow.
of been on this journey together, and it's been amazing.
Oh, I love it. Yes, I know when you, showed us, vignettes and you showed us those front windows, I'm like, I am very like, if I had my own storefront, I would want something like that as well.
They're amazing. They're amazing. I love redoing them for Christmas, especially because they're so big and just the twinkly lights, and it's amazing.
Mhm. I too had a storefront back many, many years ago, and that is the one like, I miss 2 things. I miss doing the window displays because I love creating vignettes. I love especially the window displays because you
Yes.
can really catch, somebody who's just driving by, you can catch their eye and you can just make such a statement, and
Yes.
especially if it's as big and beautiful like yours. So, the other thing I miss is, like, just the talking to my customers, on a daily basis, and having them come and visit, and that's what I miss too, but so maybe someday I'll have that again. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. But I love it, that you dove right in and things have been going really well. I'm, assuming based on that you're still there for
Yes.
3 years.
Yes.
But one thing that I do talk a lot about in my membership group is having multiple streams of income. So I love that you took the initiative to try Whatnot. You saw other creators doing it, I'm assuming, where you got is that where you got the idea?
Well, my son's been doing it for a while. So
Oh,
he sells sports cards and collectibles, and he does really well at it. He can do a sale and not have to work the rest of the month. I'm not kidding. I mean, he does
okay.
really well, but it was something that I was like, it's not really for my genre, because he kept telling me, "Mom, you need to try it. You should try it." And I'm like, eh. And they had just kind of squeaked into other areas because it did start out as a sports cards and collectibles format.
Oh,
And
cool.
so once those other ones started coming in, I started watching, going, well, why can't we do that?
Right.
The economy stinks, let's be honest.
Mhm.
And at this point, if you're not willing to swerve and make those changes, I wouldn't have a storefront. So it was, I don't want to say out of necessity because we're doing fine, but it was definitely something that needed to be done.
Okay. Great. I mean, and, how many times? Okay, so before you brought the idea to us, how many Whatnot sales had you already done? Was it
Two or
like
three. I
okay.
think it was only a couple, but it's it it's that rush. So not only they will tell you when you're going through your training that they base their format off of fear of missing out. It's FOMO. And I think as a seller you get that little rush too, that, oh my gosh, that was so much fun. Even if you don't sell out, and even if you're, it's just that instant interaction and the excitement everybody feels. And the community over there is so welcoming and so kind, and I don't think we've ever had any negativity at all. It's been such it made the transition into it so easy, so
Mhm.
easy.
Absolutely. I have to say the first time I did my Whatnot sale, I was nervous because dealing with other social platforms, I can't say that viewers are as kind or as they are over at Whatnot. I was fumbling, like, initially because even though I had, watched a video on how to list and do all the things, there was still, like, where? Like, there's just that initial, like, "Okay, let's get this going. And everyone
Mhm.
is like, no, press that button, do this, do that. And they were so stinking kind.
They are.
Yes, and then, like, if, somebody asked me a question, they're like, and I didn't know how to answer it, they're like, "It's her first whatnot sale. This is she's a first timer. Give her a break," you
I
know?
I actually have a customer that I met through Whatnot, but who also like she watches you and
Oh.
she's coming to visit me this week.
Really?
Yes, she's from
That's
Virginia, and I'm so
oh,
excited. I was like, no way. So there, while the interaction's not the same as like YouTube or Facebook, there's still that interaction
right.
that's fun and different, and you do get to know some of your customers and what they like. So
I just have to ask, is it Corrine?
no,
Oh!
Vicky.
Because I'm thinking, okay, so there is a gal that watches me, and her name, I believe it's Corrine, and I think she is from Virginia as well, and her dad
Oh,
lives
amazing.
here in Wisconsin, and so she comes up and stays here for like a month to visit him, and she like hits up like all these, tries to hit up everybody around the
I
area.
love
So,
that. I love
yeah.
that.
Oh, I was like, I have to find out if it was her. But yes, that's how and it's so cool to actually meet some of my viewers in person. So like at Antique Acres, when they would come out and then they would introduce
Yes.
themselves, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is awesome." So,
We
um
had our market this weekend,
oh,
and um I was working inside. My daughter Katie, who does our whatnots and is in the store a bunch, was working outside. And this lady comes in, and as people walk in, I'm always like, "Welcome in." And she was like, "Oh," and I'm like, "Oh, are you okay?" It was really hot and humid. I'm like, "I'll go get you water," and she's like, "No, I feel like I'm meeting my best friend." And I'm like,
no.
"Oh." They took the day off of what they were doing, and they drove over an hour to come and see me. And I'm like, just to meet me. And I was like, "Oh," it
That is
was so cute.
awesome.
It
Oh.
was one of those moments where you're like, but it's just me." I mean,
Yes, and that's exactly like, that's how I feel too when they're like, "Oh my gosh, I watch you on." Okay, the best is when they tell me they watch me on TV, and I'm like, "Well, you're actually watching me on YouTube." You may stream it up on your TV, but I am not, it's just cute, so I love it.
my daughter does nail trims for dogs, like traveling nail trims and dog sits. And one of her customers told her, "I go thrifting with your mom." And Katie's all like, "Wait, what?" And she's like, "Yeah, I watch her every week."
Oh,
Like,
I love
oh,
it. I love
that's
it.
cute.
Yes. I know, and that's it brings such joy to me when I
Mhm.
hear, like, all those good stories. I love hearing that. So, um, okay. So, back to whatnot though.
Yeah.
So tell me, like, how did your first sale go? I mean, like, if we have a
We did
new
our
viewer.
first one, and we literally dove in, and we just picked a day, and it happened to be a Tuesday. We're closed Mondays and Tuesdays, so we're like,
Okay.
let's do it on a day off so we can get our shipping done and not have to worry about it. So we did it a Tuesday morning, which I don't know, in hindsight, is that the best? Probably not. And we go in there, and we had a couple of other sellers that were fairly new that were in there walking me through it and talking me through it. And they're like, "Man, you're having a really good sale." And I'm like, "We are." And then we see the numbers when we're done, and we're like, "Oh, we did." And it was like all this stuff. Initially, it was, let's just clear out the stuff that's been sitting, the stuff that doesn't sell in store, because what sells in store is definitely different than what we end up selling on Whatnot. And
Mhm.
so the first few shows we're just trying to figure out what works and what doesn't work. what
Right.
what does that customer base want? Because I know people who can sell crafts on the craft supplies on there. They don't sell for me.
Okay.
That's fine. We move on, and do what works. And that's probably been the neatest thing, is just giving those different things a try and seeing what works and what doesn't work. So
Yeah. Oh, awesome. Yeah, so after doing my very first sale too, I didn't know what to list. Like okay, you guys, I have a stash, like I have my storage unit. I have my stash. I have a stash everywhere, okay? And I'm like, I don't even know what to put on here. I have to first think about shipping. Like, is it small
mhm.
enough that I can ship it? And then I was like, should I consider weight? And there was I was messaging you as I was picking my items. And I think that was the most difficult thing for me, is to pick my items the first time, because I didn't know what was going to sell. I didn't know what they were going to like. And, but afterwards, I just decided I'm coming up with 60 items, and I grabbed 60 items, and I just appreciate like all the tips and tricks that you gave me to make my whatnot sale that much easier. So, but I agree, like figuring out who your audience is, I think is going to be the most like the one of the biggest challenges. But once you get it, I mean, like I sold out on my very first show. On my second show, I've only done 2. I had 4 items left over. So, and here I say it's challenging, and I tell everyone I had a sold out show, but I didn't know what I think it's just initially trying to figure it out. So,
For sure. And I know the question comes up a lot as well. Sonnet has a following. Of course she's sold out. I don't have near the following you do at all. And going into whatnot, I definitely didn't have a following. And you kind of build your own, and it's not the same people that are necessarily on your other socials. They may
right.
follow you over, but it's definitely a different group of people. And you don't have to have that following. You can start from zero. You will get people in there, you will get people buying.
Mhm. Well, and I know when they said that to me, "Oh, you have a following." I'm like, I didn't know anyone really. Okay, so I shouldn't say I didn't know anyone, but when they first were jumping on, I didn't know any of the names. And then a couple people said, "I follow you on YouTube." And I don't even know if they actually had followed me over from YouTube. You know what I mean? I think they were just on. So
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think that, and it's not like I instantly got like thousands and thousands of followers on there. I only have
Right.
a couple hundred. But I think as I do continue to do shows just like you're going to continue to grow your audience.
Yeah,
So
the last week we did 2 smaller shows, and in each one, we look back and Katie's like, "Oh, but we only sold X number of dollars." I'm like, "Yes, but we had 8 new buyers,
yeah,
and we gained 45 new followers." That's huge. You
that
can't just look at that income down the road, for
right.
sure.
Oh, yes. Absolutely. And it is another income stream. So, we're talking about adding income streams, and you made a really good point that you're realizing some of the items that you have in your store don't necessarily sell in your store because, in the Midwest, we may have a specific, like country chic and like all
Yes.
of that.
Yes.
So, it's interesting. You have a much wider range of buyers
We
on
do.
whatnot. So,
Yeah, and there's buyers for everyone. I mean, somebody said, "Well, why would you teach a whole group of people to do the same thing you're doing? It's going to take away from your income." No, it's not. There's so many people out there, and yes, the same buyers buy from me, that buy from you, that buy from some of the other big names. It doesn't matter. There's something out there for everyone on whatnot. I mean, every genre out there. I mean, you're talking clothes, handbags, shoes, the works. So there's definitely, you can teach 1,000 people to do this, and it's going to be just
totally
as
different.
profitable. I'm not going to lose people. I'm not
Right.
going to. So it's been so fun to watch everybody do this and to get those sales, and how excited everyone is. I will not forget Heather's first sale, and she was literally clapping and jumping, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is the best."
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And it's funny. I like the one tip that I love. I think that you said it, and then some of the others as well. So, when you start your first, item one, and you talk about it, and even if the 30 seconds goes by and nobody bids on it, just keep going.
Yeah.
Just, do not get down, because, you have to warm them up. And
You
I really
do.
do believe that. You
Those
have to,
first 3 or 4 items, you're like, "What am I doing?"
I
And you're
know.
like feeling like sweat coming down, and
I know.
you're like, "What happened?" And then all of a sudden it's like, boom. Oh, okay. But yeah, those first 4 are so scary every time.
I know, I know. And it is every t well, I've only done it twice, but absolutely, it's like the
Yes.
first 4 items, and then I don't know if they warm up and then they start bidding.
Yeah.
And it's funny because many of those people that, and as you are on, you're more and more people will jump in, And then what I noticed it both times, they're like, "Hey, item 1, can you relist it?"
Yes.
And so then that's what happens. Like you relist
Yeah,
the
we
item.
decided, okay, let's try upcycled. We've never sold any of our upcycled items on there. And we're going through it, and I'm on like 6 or 7, and nothing's going. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. Let's go ahead. We're at the store, so we've got all of our usual. So we just started listing the usual, and things started going. And then, like you said, hey, will you rerun this? And so we ended up selling it. It
Mhm.
just didn't go in the beginning because people are like, wait, this isn't what you sell. But
Right.
once we started selling them, people are like, I want that too.
Right.
So it was good.
Yeah, I know, and I actually never thought about doing any of my upcycles. I have, quite a few. I
Yeah.
always like I've been having now. I have a bunch that I've done, and I have them on a holding shelf, and I'm ready to put them in my booth. And so on my last sale, people were asking for that, and so I thought, oh, maybe I'll try, to at least incorporate a few upcycles,
Yeah.
not do a whole show, but like a few upcycles in one of my upcoming shows. So
Yeah, they'll definitely go. I guarantee it.
yeah. So I'm super excited to try that. So the one thing that I thought was really fun is that they do these things called, I think, a raid.
Yes.
And yes, so when I talked about, or when we were talking about people being so kind, at the very end of your show, you have all these people viewing your show. Don't just let them go. Help
Yes.
another I help someone else. So it was very cool. They're all like, raid somebody. I'm like, I remember them talking about raiding. What? They're like, yeah, just raid another person's show. And so I've done that twice, and they have been so thankful.
Right? The look on their face is worth it.
Yes,
It's so
when all of a
fun because
sudden their
they're like,
numbers like double or
yes,
triple.
yes. And
Yeah.
I've been rated too, I won't lie, by Julie's Designs and Signs. And I like
Awesome.
got over 100 people all at once. And I was like, oh, I was like so fangirling. It was ridiculous, first of all. Even
I would
Katie
have
was
been
like, oh my
excited.
God. And
Yeah.
it was so much fun. It was so much fun. Cause then all of a sudden we were getting ready to just end the sale for the day because we'd already been on for 2 hours. And then Julie brings all these people in, and we ended up going for like another hour and a half. My husband's done with work and sitting in a chair going, what's going on? And we're like, oh, it was a great show. And I did message Julie afterwards, and I thanked
Oh,
her because it was, I mean, we were ready to be done for the day and we had made a good amount, but that was like insane. The mess we had that night because we had all this influx, over 100 people watching. And,
right.
it was so crazy, but it meant the world to me that, and she's like, you have cute stuff. So I was like, let's go raid her. I'm like, oh,
Oh, that's awesome. That was
yeah,
very kind.
it
And I
was.
have yet to be rated, but I only have done 2 shows. So I'm excited for somebody to raid me.
Well, it'll happen August 2nd.
Well, I'm kicking it off.
Oh,
So,
that's
yes.
right.
Yes.
Ah,
So, August 2nd, everyone, mark it on your calendars. We are doing, is it a raid train?
it's
Is
a
that what
raid
it's?
train.
Yes.
Yes.
So it starts at noon. I'm kicking it off. Everyone is going for about a half hour.
Yep.
So I will kick it off, and then I'm going to raid the next person, and she's going to raid the next person. And it is going to be a raid train until, is it like 7 or 8 o'clock at
I
night?
think 8 o'clock is, yeah, the last one will finish around 8.
Yeah.
And I think there's
So,
16 of us.
yes.
It's gonna be
I
good.
It
It's
is
gonna be
gonna be
so
so
good.
good. I'm excited. And every one of us has something a little different.
We
So
do. We do.
I think that's really good. So, but yes, I officially decided to kick it off, and then everyone is gonna go thereafter, and
I'm
hopefully,
excited for it. It's gonna be fun.
yes, yeah. So what hour do you have?
I think I'm like 1 or 2. I don't remember. I just took what was left because on Fridays I'm pretty open. So I figured I'll let everyone else pick their times, and whatever was left, I'll just hop into that. And I'm after Tara, I
Okay.
believe, but I
Yeah.
don't remember what time. It was like 1 or 2, somewhere in that
Okay.
range. I have it on my, if anyone follows me, bookmark me.
Okay.
I do have it listed on there already. So
Okay. I should probably put mine out there too. So I am not I have been I'm calling mine Whatnot Wednesdays, and I plan on doing a sale every Wednesday, except this Wednesday I can't. I'm actually heading out of town for my daughter's softball tournament. It's like let's see, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It's like a 5-day tournament. It's
Oh,
gonna
big one.
Yes, in Minnesota.
I
So,
know.
yeah, so I know I already, like, said to my husband, "Hey, there's a Goodwill bins in Minnesota, just so you know," and he's like, "Oh, great." I'm like, "Drop me off, go do your thing, come and pick me up when I text you."
Yeah.
I don't know. If we have some time, I might head over there, but I'll let you know.
Yes, do that.
Yes. But yes, the bins here in Appleton, it's definitely changing. It used to be a lot better than I went there like a couple times, and it's definitely changed. And I was like, what's going on? They're just not bringing out as much stuff. So I'm hoping nothing is happening where I've heard some bins are closing. So
I've
that
heard that too.
yeah, so that makes me sad. I hope we don't lose it here in Appleton, but we'll see what happens. So, but I might get a little thrift on when I'm in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I don't know when the games are or anything yet because I've already quizzed her. She's like,
Yes.
"Oh, you want to know ahead of time?" Like, because she goes, "I didn't think it would be a big deal. We're just headed there anyway." I'm like, "Oh, well, maybe we could do a little stop in between."
Yeah.
But
I remember those
anyways,
days. You definitely have downtime.
oh, yes, there is definitely downtime. So, but, for those of our viewers that are new to trying Whatnot, do you have any specific tips or tricks that, you wanna give them if
It would
they're
be do it. Don't be afraid. You don't have to show your face. There's multiple ways to do it.
Yeah,
Go on there, watch people, just watch. And I mean, you'll probably buy too, but definitely just go in there and watch people. And you'll find some that you're like, oh, hey, I really like how they do it. And
right.
that might be how you kind of swerve how you do yours.
Yeah,
And then, like we had mentioned, don't stop. Just keep going through your list. It's going to feel fruitless. It's going to feel very alienating, but keep doing it, and
right.
it will sell. You will have a sale.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree. And even if you don't have a sellout show or sell a ton, do it again.
Yes,
Look and see what's sold and, just keep on because, one thing between all of us that have done it in the membership group, there were a couple that were saying like it depends on the show too and who attends. So
it
you might
does.
you might have one show where you just don't get a buying audience, and then the next show you got buyers. So, something to think about. Do not give up.
No, don't. It's
Yes.
worth it. It's fun. And,
Yeah.
that's my thrifting money. It's been really nice because I'm not pulling it out of the store account. I'm pulling it out of those funds. So it's literally paying for my restock of Whatnot, and it's paying for my restock for the stores. So it's been
Mhm.
really nice.
Right. Oh, absolutely. I know one thing I said for a future sale or for my future sales, I think I might pick so many items out of my existing stash and then go and pick some more items too, just because now I kind of know what has been selling and
Yeah.
I'm going to look for some of those items too. So
And
that'll
you
be fun.
definitely pick different for your whether it's a booth or a storefront than you do for Whatnot. I
Right.
definitely find myself picking different.
Right. I know when you said that to me, because I was like, I feel like some of these items probably don't
Right.
belong on Whatnot. And you're like, absolutely. Because when you're thrifting, yes, you have to pick differently for each
You do.
of, like for your booth versus Whatnot. So on my last two thrift hauls that I showcased, I actually talked about that, about how like this is going to go in my booth and this is going to be in the Whatnot sale. And so yeah, definitely. But the other thing I want to just mention before I want to dive into thrifting too and talk about, how you thrift and all that good stuff, but pricing the items. We should probably just slightly touch on that when you list your items and pricing.
Yeah.
Um,
I my when I taught everybody in the group, my one thing is I know a lot of people will say start things out at $1. I know in the category my son sells in, that's what you do. You start them at $1 and then you wait for them to bid up. I don't recommend that. I recommend you putting it out there at what you're comfortable with, because you have to remember there are fees that do come out of there. In any sales format, you're going to have an overhead, whether it's your booth fees or eBay or Etsy or whatever it is, whether you're doing a show, you're going to have fees. So you have to look at that. And when you're selling an item for $1, if it goes for that dollar, you're not going to be making but 50 cents. And you really need to look at the numbers, because there's not just the fee they take, but there's also the credit card fees, which is why it's only like a 53 cents or 56 cents that you make.
Mhm.
So that would be my number one. Don't feel pressured to do the dollar auctions. I tend to start most of mine in the $3, $5, $7 range. I have gone up to 12, 15. And then anything that you want, like almost your full price that you would like, if I have this candlestick that I'm gonna, in the store, I have this at $14.95. If I want that full $14.95, I'm gonna put it in my buy it now and let somebody buy it in the buy it now at that full price, instead of putting it in an auction for $4 or $5 and not getting what I have into it back. So
Mhm.
it's I just didn't want to feel pressure that I had to sell it at $1 or those low prices, because I don't want to lose money. I
Right.
have not only what I bought this for, but I painted it, so there's my time, there's my product, and you don't want to lose all of that on top of it.
Right.
Your time is definitely worth something. And I had that discussion with a friend of my daughter's who was like, I'm got a CNC machine and I'm making earrings and I'm only going to charge $3 because that covers my supplies and doubles it. But your time is worth something too. So don't feel like you have to do that dollar or $2. Ask what you're comfortable with getting.
Right. Right, because even at $1 and you're making 58 cents, are you truly making 58 cents or what have you? Because, no, you had to pay for that item too, so you have to
Yes.
take that into account.
Yeah.
So, I was very, happy when you said, "Don't start it at $1, start it a little bit higher,"
Yep.
and I haven't had any problems with that. I
Me
know that
neither.
a lot of people will say, like, $1 starting bids, but I just again, I'm also doing this, even like, everything prepping for this takes time. So,
It does.
picking your items, pricing your items, weighing your items, listing your items, and then doing the show. So you have that is time that you're taking away from something else in your business to do this whatnot sale. So keep
Yep.
that in mind too. So you may think, oh, well, I don't have any time invested, but you still have a bit of time, even
You
if you're
do.
not
Because
upcycling.
you picked it too. So
Oh
you
yeah,
have, your picking time, you have all of that, and all of it needs
yes,
to be taken into consideration. Your time is worth money. Don't
absolutely.
shortchange yourself.
No. No, absolutely not. So, but yeah, I just wanted to touch on that because I think that is another really good tip for those starting out.
Yeah.
I watched when I was trying to do some research on Whatnot, I did find one guy and he talked about how he ran his Whatnot sales. And he said when he does his sales, this was very interesting. I haven't done this yet, but he starts by doing like a 3 to let's say $5 startup. And then he goes and he's like, once I warm him up a bit, then I have a next, like let's say 7 to 10, and he's like, and if they still are buying at that price, he goes, then I have, he kind of has like tiers where
That makes
he,
sense. That
yeah.
makes
And then
sense.
he's like, do you guys want to see some of my really high end stuff? And then if they're like, yeah, then he brings out even the bigger items. So I thought that was really interesting because I hadn't thought of it like that. But yeah. So now that you said the buy it nows, I haven't dabbled in that. So
You
that
need
is
to. That we put some of our wholesale stuff in there. So
okay.
we're really picky about greenery. So we have some of our like higher end greenery in there. And I will always take a moment during my shows, if not two, to go over. I'll be like, so I have these in my buy it now, and these we have these string of pearls. I don't have any in here. Normally I do. Um, but these string of pearls that are so realistic, it's a pick and you get like 3 strands and they're beautiful. I can't keep
Okay.
them in stock at the store or on whatnot. We just are like, we'll go through and we have this and I'll pick like 5 things and I'll just go through and explain them and then say, make sure you check that out. And if you happen to be in there, we have these antique locks. You can pick which one you want if you buy it right now, you
Right.
know?
Yeah. Very cool. Actually, I think those string of pearls that you're talking about, did you feature them in the upcycle for the makers box
Yes.
with the clocks?
Yes.
Okay. I noticed them right away. I'm like, they look so
They're
cool with it,
amazing.
like,
I'll tell you where I got them from later.
okay. I loved them. So,
They're
and I
great.
loved what you did with the makers box too. So the clock faces, that's
I
awesome.
loved that paper. Oh my gosh. I didn't think I would. I'm not necessarily into the whole steampunk type thing, but I
Yes.
loved that paper. I
Yeah.
loved it.
Yeah, I loved it too. I was like, it was kind of funny because when I was telling Royce my vision and then to see what she came up with based on what I just, I told her like via email or we had a
Yeah.
conversation, I think. And I'm like, oh, I like it. So we're rolling with it. And to hear Kristen too on her live and she's like,
Uh,
yeah, I'm not a clock person, but this has really made me step outside of my box. And I'm like, that is a great pun, stepping outside of
yeah.
her box, but she did awesome too with it, so
Did. I
I
love
love
her
it.
little mushroom she did.
I
So
know.
cute.
I know. It just makes you realize, like, you can manipulate, papers, different ways. You don't have to just use the full image like how she used it that way.
Yeah.
And there's just yeah, she's so good too. So, you guys are
Mhm.
also very talented. I just love to be inspired by all of you. But, now let's dive into thrifting because it's, like, what I
Yes.
love to do.
Me too.
So, now that when you have your storefront, did you all it sounded like you've always thrifted items because you said
Yeah.
your husband was a picker,
Mhm.
and you started with just furniture. When did you get into, like, smalls? When you opened your store?
No, when I started, the first store I was in when we moved back to Minnesota was just a couple
Okay.
blocks from our house, and we had to have X number of furniture pieces in our space, and then you had to supply all the smalls. So that was like really the first time I ever had to do that.
Okay.
And at first, when you're not used to doing it, I was not good.
Okay.
It was so, it was so bad. It was so bad. And you just really learn. I would grab magazines and pour through them, and I would, Pinterest and pour through Pinterest and kind of self taught myself how to do vignettes and how
Right.
to bring it all together and how to tie those smalls, what I don't need to flip versus what needs something done to it. So,
Right. I know. And sometimes I feel like everyone thinks that every item has to be flipped, and it
no.
doesn't. You
Mm-mm.
can just buy and then resell, and it's perfect. It will slide right into your vignette without doing anything. Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Uh,
Uh, but yeah, so I have to like always try to reiterate that too. Like you guys don't have to upcycle every piece. So
no.
even when I'm doing my thrift hauls and I talk about what I'm going to do with it, a lot of the items I just slide right into my booth, and it's amazing what people will get rid of.
It is. It's almost sad. I mean, people get mad when you're a reseller and it's like, but why? Somebody
Right.
else didn't want it, and if I'm taking it and repurposing it and giving it a new life or just passing it on, cuz sometimes it's just putting it into the right display for somebody to be like,
Yes.
"Oh,
Yes. Oh, and then like really seeing the value of the item. So
yes.
yeah.
Yes."
I know. I just it, like, amazes me, like, how people are I hate to say, like, disposable, but they use it for just a very short period of time, like, even for 1 season, and then
Yeah,
they've moved on, and I just appreciate the fact that they do donate it versus, like,
for
tossing
sure.
it,
For sure.
because I'm sure some people just toss it, which let somebody else get some use out of it, it's brand new.
Right, right.
Yeah. So I guess with thrifting, are there certain things that you look for specifically when you're out thrifting?
I'd like to say yes. I mean, we always have like a list of, hey, this we've sold out of, but you
Yeah.
can't pick and choose what's going to be at the store. So
No.
it's basically whatever's there. If it's something we know is going to sell, or even if like blue ball jars right now, we were like completely sold out, and to buy them at the thrift store is not cheap. So when we came across them, I think we ended up buying two like totes full of them, because
Wow.
we can store those and bring them out as needed at that point, because they're not easy to find.
Yeah,
So it's a matter of what's there versus what I want, because what I want we're not always getting. So
I know. I know. I go there with, like, a vision, of, like, "Okay, this is what I'm looking for," and then it kinda,
yeah.
it just goes down its own little path, and sometimes I see something and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I love this. This is gonna be perfect for a vignette." And then I actually, in the store, start brainstorming a vignette,
What
and I'm
goes with it?
looking for
Yes.
items to go with that.
The five things I always thrift, and that would be greenery,
Yeah.
candlesticks, mirrors.
Oh, yeah.
Um, Gosh, I don't even remember what the other two were, but there's definitely like a list that we will always grab. Always,
Okay.
always, always.
Mhm.
If it's there, we're gonna grab it.
Right. Yes, I love, like, if I can find some really great baskets, I'm always
Oh,
grabbing
that's
those.
that's
Yeah.
probably one of them on my list, because we have a hoard of baskets. A friend just sent me a Pinterest of baskets up on the wall and cascading down. So I think I know what I'm gonna do on my next store flip.
I actually think I know what video or what, picture that is. Is it outside, like, a greenhouse, like, or
I don't
inside?
remember. I just
Yeah.
remember sending it to me and going, oh, she's like, if your basket hoard ever gets overflowing, and I'm like, oh, she knows me.
Yes.
Because it is.
Yeah, I saw, an image like that from she's on Instagram, and I'm trying to remember her name. I
It
follow
was on
her.
Instagram. It was on Instagram.
Yeah, and, she has a greenhouse. Well, I think it's, like, supposed to be a greenhouse, but she truly doesn't use it for a greenhouse. She uses it to, like, for displays and making beautiful displays like that, and it was like a basket it was like an archway around a door.
Yeah, it was so pretty. It
It
was so
was, and
pretty.
she had
So
greenery in it and, like, yeah,
yes. Oh, yeah. So
it's
now I'm
funny.
all inspired that we always do a big flip right before fall, and then a really big one for Christmas too. But I that's I think what I'm gonna do with all my basket hoard. I'm so excited to try it.
Oh, that sounds very cool. So will they be able to buy off of that?
Oh, heck yes.
Okay.
Everything is for sale in my store.
Yeah, everything is for sale in my booths as well. That is one thing that I've learned. I used to like have certain items I did not want to sell. And then I'm like, no, everything is for sales on it.
Right. We do the same thing. And then there's pieces like that we'll use for display. And I'll be like, I don't want to sell it. So I'll mark it up, and then it'll sell anyways. And I'm like, well, that didn't work.
Yes. Yes. I know I had talking about that too, I had a shelf that the true intention was to house all of my soaps, and it was the perfect display for it. So like I said, I price everything. I put such a high price on this thing. I'm like, no one in their right mind is going to buy this. And
And
within
they
a week it sold. And I
yeah.
was like, well, it wasn't high enough.
Yep. Yeah. We ended up that night, like Katie called us and was like, hey, guess what? And I'm like, oh. So we were like, Facebook Marketplace, and we've got to find something to replace. It was like right when you walk in, it's our
Yep.
big right when you walk in, and it sold. So we're like, oh, we have to have something there. We can't
Right.
just not. So we, yeah, had to go picking that night. I mean, had to.
Yeah. I know what you mean. Um, yes, I try to like my husband is like, you when we're driving along and we see something in the garbage and I'm like, I gotta have it. He's like, oh, Sonnet, you don't need it. I'm like, no, I always need backup pieces just in case I need to like either slide something in immediately or flip it or have something ready. So although like I have this like it's a buffet and I've been meaning to flip it for a while and it's on It's been like part of our living room right now for a while because it's on rolling, like, I don't know if you know those rolling
Oh,
cart
yeah.
things.
Yeah.
And I've been meaning to paint it and, in my free time, but the summer has gotten so busy. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know. I
Our
know.
mudroom is full of furniture, so I feel your pain. In fact, there may be a dresser on my front porch right now too.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Yes. So you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I do. I do.
I know. My husband's like, when is this going? I'm like, oh, next week. I'm like,
Mhm.
I just have to take the time, slow down and flip it. So, but yes, I don't know. It just, it's all part of being a reseller,
It
having
is.
booths and um, you know, just having a small business. So, I don't think that I would want it any other way though. Honestly,
No,
like
no.
I love how my life is, like how I'm out there picking items, saving them, flipping them, reselling, all that
It
good
not only
stuff.
it gives you that freedom to still do what you want to, like go to your daughter's softball tournaments,
Right.
and you're still doing something you love. Me and my husband were just talking about, um, it's really been therapeutic for me, between my accident and my other health issues, that when I am not creating, I feel that, just that tension, and that I don't know how to explain it. And when you're actually have that time to sit down and do it, it's like a release that you can't explain to anybody else. So
Absolutely. And is that okay? So you may not know this, but Sondra is also on YouTube. So is that how you kind of slid into YouTube? Like, when did that
I
journey
was
start?
doing YouTube. I started that, after we moved to Minnesota, and I was doing mostly, I was doing the smalls for the store I was in, and I
Okay.
was also picking up vintage, whatnot stuff, for eBay, and I was doing
Oh,
eBay. I was in that car accident, and so my eBay my YouTube kind of got pushed aside for a while, and it was kind of sporadic when I would get in there. I had just, when I had the accident, I was just getting up into like the 300s, which doesn't sound like a lot, but you work your butt off to get there.
yeah.
And it was kind of one of those things where I wasn't able to keep a real consistent basis on there. But it started with the eBay stuff, and then kind of swerved into more of an upcycle, and yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, so I started following you on there as well. So that's awesome that you are navigating the YouTube journey as well. I think
Yeah.
that even having a YouTube account really drives business. It's like another income stream for your business, especially if you get monetized on it. But just to drive more business to your storefront and let people
For
know about
sure.
you.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So were you inspired by anybody when you first started your YouTube channel, or you just like, I'm gonna just kick this off and go?
I'm just gonna kick this off. I tend to do that a lot. Be like, oh, I'm just gonna do this. So it
Yeah,
was like sat down, and I watch people. We don't watch a lot of TV. I watch YouTube.
right,
I don't- you know, and I watched people, and so it was kind of like, at the time I'd be crazy lamp lady, or because I was more in the eBay section of things. But I also followed. I've known, so Jamie Ray Vintage. I
yes.
actually was the neighbor to her niece Desiree, and her
Really?
mom. Yeah, we were neighbors. Like our kids hung out. We shared cookies. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I've followed Jamie Ray from a long time, like from her very beginning when she was spray painting inside her home. Um,
The video that I saw her doing that, I was like, my husband would literally kill me if
oh,
I was
mine
doing
too.
that.
Mine too.
But she did.
Yeah. So I've followed her for forever, and I'm like, well, if she can do it, I
Yeah,
can do it.
right,
And so it's kind of changed over the years, and it's now I definitely do my thrift hauls, and I try to do something else besides. So I try to do two a week, and so I'll do a thrift haul one, and then whatever sometimes it's two thrift hauls because life is crazy,
right. Yes.
Um,
I mean,
yeah.
owning a small business is crazy busy, so it's, like, ever changing, and yeah, I love how your journey started, like, upcycling and painting, furniture flipping out of a garage to, then transitioning to your storefront, going on the YouTube journey, now adding whatnot. And yeah, that's exactly, a small business, like it's just ever changing and
It
rolling.
is. It
And
is.
that's exactly like it reminds me a lot of my small business journey as well. So I know I read a comment on Facebook recently that someone wrote, a viewer, does YouTube require all the creators to start a whatnot channel? So I just think it's like it made me laugh because I'm like, no, I don't think that every single YouTuber has a whatnot, or a whatnot. Is it a channel? Is it
I
or
don't know what you'd call
I
it.
know. I'm like, what do I want to call that? But yeah, like a whatnot store, maybe.
There you go.
I don't know. But I don't think so. I think that it's like a way for us to dabble in different areas, I think is a good way to
Well,
put
for
it.
sure, because we need to make money too. And I know most of us love to share what we do. Like I love when somebody comes into the store and I can just chat, IOD, or I can, you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
it's my passion and I love it and I love to be able to share it. So I love that aspect of it. And I think this is just a way for us to compensate ourselves for some of the stuff we do on top of, we need to be paid too.
Right. Absolutely.
And our income stream isn't the same as everybody else. We don't have a 9 to 5. I mean, we do, but we don't.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. That's an interesting topic in itself because that has actually come up on my channel when I announced that I was going to start Whatnot, and somebody was very upset that I was doing that. They felt like I was just trying to earn money, and I have never hid that I've had a small business. Uh, m- my YouTube channel started because I have a small business, and I
Right.
was like showcasing it. And I was showcasing what I did to stock my booth. And I was giving, on the back end, like how I go thrifting, what I do to these items. And then I realized very short in, I wanted to use quality products on a lot of the items I was reselling. So that's how I dove into like DIY paint, IOD, and the Roy cycled. And it just like my business is ever changing, but I give out so much free content that people have to realize I can't just give out free stuff. I have to be making money in order to continue to
Exactly.
put out videos. And I just want to keep on giving, like I go live, I showcase so much on my lives, and now I have my podcast and I'm bringing you amazing creators on here as well. So, but yes, you're absolutely right.
It
We have,
comes back to what we talked about earlier. Your time is worth money. And you've
yes.
got, somebody goes into an office and gets a paycheck for while they're there. You're going live, you're doing whatnot. We need our paycheck too because we
Yeah.
still have bills.
I know, right? I know. And I think most viewers realize that, but I think there's just maybe a few. I don't know. I mean, there's just, it helps us out, as well. So we can continue to provide free content.
Exactly,
So,
exactly.
and believe me, I love teaching different techniques and I love upcycling. And I can't even remember the exact comments, but I just feel like I am never going to stop doing that. I love it too much. And
Exactly.
like you said too, it makes you like when you get to create, you feel so good. And
Yeah.
that's exactly like when I sit down in my studio and I start brainstorming and coming up with ideas of how I'm going to use some of the products, I love it. And
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
even when I'm thrifting, like I rescue items just so that I can upcycle them. So
Yeah.
I know a lot of people would pass those items up. I'm absolutely 100% sure, but not me.
Yeah, my husband or daughter will be like, "Why are you getting that?" And I'm like, "I've got a plan. Just
I know. I know. I know. I have on my kitchen table right now, I have like 3 videos. My husband walked in, he's like, "Oh wow, what's going on here?" I'm like, that's one video, that's another video, and that's another video. So I'm like, I have it all planned. What's going to be in the next 3 videos? So items that I've recently upcycled or recently thrifted. So
Fun, fun,
I
fun.
know, I know. So, as we're wrapping this up, any last minute words of advice for anybody starting a small business or starting a new income stream that you want to give them?
My advice would be to be prepared to be open and to swerve. That's something that's come up a lot recently as you see small businesses closing. I think a lot of times because they're not willing, and not that I'm changing how I'm doing things, but I am,
Mhm.
doing Whatnot was a good addition for us because it's only, the 2 to 3 hours a week. I'm getting that little push that helps fund this and, just be prepared to make those moves, whether it's carrying a different line or, whatever you're doing, you've got to be prepared to make a move.
Yeah,
And it's not
pivot.
a straight line. It is
Yeah,
not a straight line.
no, I agree 100% with that. You do have to be prepared to like pivot to the next thing and
Yes.
try to, figure out because you as a person of the small business, you're changing too,
Mhm.
not just the business itself, but maybe like you decide you want to do more, like DIYs versus like upcycles. You have to be, prepared to, pivot for that.
Yeah,
So
for sure. For sure.
oh, I love it. And where can my viewers find you to be inspired by you as much as I am? What
Well,
platforms are you on?
we are on all of them pretty much, I think.
I know.
We're on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and TikTok, though I'm not I don't know. TikTok's a time suck for me, so I tend to not do, but I do my reels over there.
I know.
We're on Pinterest. We're got our website, which is www.midwestcharm.co. There's no M on that.
Okay.
Um, yeah,
And
we're
you're
pretty
on
much
Whatnot?
everywhere. And we're on Whatnot, and it's all under Midwest Charm. You'll see we try to keep like all of our little logo stuff the same so you can easily know if there's more than one Midwest Charm, which one we are. So,
Right. And we have to make one last plug for our raid train
yes.
on August 2nd. That is a Friday and it
Yes.
starts at noon.
Yep.
So
Noon Central.
yes. So if there are new people that haven't been on Whatnot, tell them what they need in order to buy. You
What you need is to go to Sonnet's page and
Oh,
find her previous link, and she'll have a link on there. And if you've never been on there, you should get $15 to spend for free, not including shipping or taxes. And then you're there, and then you just need to find us and bookmark our shows so that you get notified when we go live.
right. Yes, and I plan on posting it out there by the time this is live. Um, well, yeah, so it'll be posted and ready for because this is going to go live next week, Thursday. So that will be before the show,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Okay. I'm like, are we talking about this? And
I
then
can't believe it's almost August.
I
I'm like,
know.
what the heck happened to our summer?
Yes, I know. I agree. So I can't believe it's almost August. School's gonna start again,
I
and
know.
before we know it, we will be well, everybody should be flipping their booths right now for fall. It's
Yep.
crazy to think about it. And then before you know it, the holidays will be here, and then January and February. I always think that's like the lull. I,
It is for us. It is for us. Nobody wants
right.
to go anywhere.
I know, absolutely. So, especially here in Wisconsin, well,
Yeah.
in the Midwest when we get dumped on
That's
with
when we
snow.
tend to pile in all of our classes because it gets people out of the house. And,
Yeah,
yeah.
fun. I love it. So, I want to thank you so much for being part of my
Oh,
podcast
thank you for having
today.
me. It was so much fun.
Yes. And I know that my viewers are going to love you as much as I am. So, yes, definitely head on over. I will have all of Sondra's information linked in the description. So, if you guys want to find her, and then you guys, in next week's episode, I am going to be diving into this topic a bit further income streams and how to create multi diversify income streams for your small business. I'm so passionate about this, and I talk about this so often with my members that I thought it would be great to have just a whole podcast talking about it. So if you guys are interested in that, watch for next week's episode. So if you guys are listening to this on any of the podcast platforms, just remember, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe so you guys don't miss out on any episodes. And then if you are watching over on YouTube, definitely give me a thumbs up, subscribe, because I am now putting this on a separate channel over on YouTube. So I need to build up my subscriber base over there because I had this on my regular channel. I decided to separate it. So give me a subscribe, a thumbs up, and let me know what you guys are thinking about it in the comments. Until then, we will see you guys in the next episode, and have a great week. Bye.